Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and his immaculate progeny, Ahlul Bayt. Dear brothers and sisters all over the world, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to yet another edition from the series of Quran and Today's Life. As you might have already been following this series of shows, we are trying to have a thematic exegesis of the Holy Quran. In our recent shows, we started a discussion on the spirituality in the Holy Quran. Specifically, in our previous show, we talked about the key concepts of spirituality from the Holy and Divine Book of Allah, that is Al-Quran. We enumerated, and in fact, we named three important concepts which can be extracted from the Holy Quran: love, being thankful, and humility toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have been benefited from explanations and elaborations of Sheikh Hujjat al-Dawoodi, a scholar from prestigious Hawza al-Miyah of Qom. Once again, before starting our discussion and asking the first question, I'd like to say salam to him and welcome him to this show and thank him for accepting our invitation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I am so happy again that we are going to continue our discussion.
Thank you.
And also say salam to you, your colleague, and all of the viewers.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you. If you remember, we were talking about three concepts which were extracted from teachings of Quran: love and being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and humility. The first one was in fact elaborated in our previous show. But now we're going to focus on the second concept, on the practical, let's say, instructions towards self-purification, which was thankfulness, being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can we practically be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How can we call ourselves a thankful person, a thankful, let's say, believer toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayri khalqihi Muhammad wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Salawatullah alayhim ajma'in. So we start with the name of Allah. Our discussion is about the spirituality according to the verses of Holy Quran, and we reach up to the topic you mentioned as well to the viewers, and your question was that how we can reach it. Three different key concepts were mentioned before. The first one, as we explained, was love.
Yeah.
The love for God, our Creator. And also as well, we explained that how we can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get closer to Him, and reach salvation by the love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, we explained that love is not enough. We have to go forward and do something. Just to say, by our tongue, it is not enough to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And one important point that you mentioned at that session was that only love itself exists, and what is in opposite of it, which is hatred and hate, does not exist at all. And this was an important point that I remind from that session.
Yes. And it was because there are some people in different religions, or different believers in the believers of some other religions, that they say that why you keep something as a hate in your heart. Our heart must filled with just love, nothing else. So we explained that love is something which is existed, and opposite of that
does not exist at all.
Does not exist at all. And we as well gave an example as light and darkness, and we said darkness is not something that we can prove it. Darkness is the lack of light.
Yeah.
So hate is the lack of love.
Very true.
It is not something that is existed, and we said we put something bad in my heart. No. And the second thing, which is I can mention as a core of the faith, is thankfulness. If I am thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means that I loved Him as well. So these are three different things that one by one they come after each other. First, I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after that, if I love Him, I am thankfulness toward Him. And if I am thankfulness toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if I am thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am of course humble, and these are the things that one by one they come after each other.
You mean the last concept and the last, let's say, factor is the outcome of the second factor?
Without love,
you cannot reach to thankfulness.
Yes.
And without thankfulness, you cannot reach humility.
Humility.
Very nice. Very good.
So they come after each other, okay, one by one. And without the first one, we cannot reach the second one.
The coming is the fruit of the previous.
Exactly. So we said that thankfulness is the core of the faith. Why? Because we explained that, exactly when we refer to the Arabic, because we are discussing the verses of Holy Quran. What is the opposite of shukr in Holy Quran? لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ لَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ. So shukr has an opposite in Arabic language. It is called kufr. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the word kufr is the opposite of shukr. So it means that exactly shukr is the core of religion.
Right.
Without thankfulness, without being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are going to reach kufr.
Exactly.
It means that we do not agree with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, it has some, interpretation, and there are many interpreters of Holy Quran and exegesis of Holy Quran that they explained as well what is exactly kufr. Does it have different levels, stages, or so on, that we are not going to discuss it here. But I wanted to mention that yes, shukr and thankfulness has an opposite in Holy Quran and in the verses of Quran. And this is the view of God. If I'm not thankfulness, I am kafir. I am someone who doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the core of the faith.
Mm-hmm. But a question that may come here in mind, that when we said that when love does not exist, shukr cannot come, or thankfulness cannot come. How can we say that this is the opposite side of the kufr? I mean, when, for example, a believer loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a kafir. So, in fact, he steps on the first step, he is a believer, then he goes to be thankful.
So exactly, you answered your question by bringing the question itself. Because yes, I agree that the kafir is someone who doesn't love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it means that he hasn't been in the first level, let alone the second one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we cannot say that somebody loves Allah, but he is not thankfulness to him. Yeah. It means if I really love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if not only Allah, everything. If I love something, I am thankfulness toward that one. I am thankful toward that one. So it is very important.
Very true, exactly.
So we mentioned one of the verses of Holy Quran here, that لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. A question will raise here that how, if we are thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Allah is going to increase us, and it is going to increase His bounties for us. To make the situation so clear, I want to give an example.
Yes, please.
You suppose that in the classroom, several students are studying, a teacher is there also. One of the students is so thankful toward the teacher. Of course, we have to, explain much more, but this is a very simple question. If the student is thankful toward the teacher, it means that he studies well. Yeah. So if I study well, it means that I am a thankful student toward my teacher.
Exactly.
I love his teaching, so I am thankful. It means that I am studying well. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to increase His bounties upon those people who are thankful? We say the same as a teacher who is going to teach much more. So easily He is going to give us the teacher is going to, give his knowledge to the student who is thankful, it means to a student who is going to study much more. So this is the meaning of increasing his bounties. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by this way is going to increase his bounties. And of course, we say because of that, we say if we are not thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in adhabi la shadid, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to give us. It means that I didn't want it myself. I was not thankful. The same as a student who doesn't study. It means that this student is not thankful toward the teacher himself.
Right.
So these are something that we explain about being thankfulness and how to be thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And anyone who is thankful, naturally he can be humble in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Of course, yeah. I said that step by step, one by one. First of all, I should love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after that be thankful, and then being humble.
Yeah.
So I want to a little go forward to the concept of being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The concept of thankfulness has been, explored by many Muslim scholars who have made various, useful distinguishes between, these types of thankfulness. First of all, we say thankfulness from the heart. Some people know that this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, the love of Allah is also a gift, because we know many people who they want to be good, but they cannot. Yeah, this is also a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we are thankfulness from our heart, this is the first level, and this is the most important level. But there are some people who are thankful in their practice.
That's much more better than heart.
Of course, yeah. So by heart and by practice, it means that they are doing, something, that it means that they are thankful toward the Lord.
Don't you think that this second group that you say, the latter one, are more precious than the previous one? Because whatever is in the heart materializes and it becomes in action.
It is very important because there is the third group that just they are thankful in the words. Okay, so the first and the first and the third are much better than the second one, because the group of people who are going to be thankful in their words, it is not so worthfully. Yeah. So
it's superficial.
Of course, yeah. So thankfulness in practice and thankfulness from the heart are much better than being thankfulness with some words. Yeah. I want to give another example to clarify the situation and say that, there are sometimes I go to a person and say thank you very much, but I do something that he really hates. For example, a person who doesn't like cigarette, so smoking in front of that person, it means that I am not thankful toward him. If I all the time say thank you very much and I say such words to him, but all the time I smoke toward in front of him, does it mean that I am thankful toward the person?
No.
Of course not. So being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a very, very specific factor, that if I am a real thankful person, I should, practice as the others understand that I am thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with my hand and so on.
So different stages of being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is to thank by word, the other to thank by heart, and the third one to thank in action.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we pass now to the third concept, or no, we are still in the second one?
I think that would be enough to to explain about being thankful, because I explained that this is the core of the religion and the faith, because without being thankful, we cannot gain many different things. And of course, the things that I explained again, I said that, this is the opposite of the word kufr in Arabic, and it means that without that, I'm not having the faith and iman. I'm the same as a person who is disbeliever. And of course, some people say that kufr here means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to stop, giving His bounties. But we explained that is as well. I brought the example of the teacher with his student.
Very true.
And so
I think
on.
the key point that you mentioned here was that since this thankfulness is in opposite of kufr, anyone who does not have any belief in the Islam, in the religion, cannot enter it. In fact, he lacks prerequisite which is existed for that. That is love. Love is missing here. When love is missing, so we cannot enter the second phase, which is thankfulness.
Exactly.
Thanks again, Sheikh Dawoodi, for your nice elaboration on the topic, and you respected viewers for watching us up to this point. We have a very short break. After that, inshallah, we shall be continuing our discussion with Sheikh Dawoodi. Please stay tuned. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back to Quran and Today's Life and our discussion on the spirituality in the Holy Quran, and specifically key concepts in the spirituality. The third key is going to be discussed now, that is humility, or being humble toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naturally, this phase and this stage requires two prerequisites, which were love toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being thankful. We are waiting to have the explanations and elaborations of Sheikh Dawoodi on this regard. What does this humbleness mean, and what humility is, and what are the practical actions and blessed lessons to reach to this point?
Okay. We explained before that they come one by one after each other as a chain.
Yeah.
And if we lose one of them, we cannot reach the
other one.
The next one and the other one. So it is very important to fulfill the first, then reach the second, and now the humility toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the word thankfulness and being thankful toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the second one.
Yeah.
So if we are thankful to Allah, now we are humble.
Exactly.
And humility is the I think the result of thankfulness and being thankful toward Him. So this is one of the key concepts of, in Islamic spirituality, and humility is being called as a kind of a spiritual poverty. This means that it is going to strengthen our understanding toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Referring to some words of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he explains toward Allah that, how can I come to you, and say, I've gained something, that my hand, my feet, my body, my eyes, everything is belong to you. Mm-hmm. Everything that I have belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belongs to my Lord. So how can I reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is one of the meaning of being humble.
That's true.
So humility is very important. If I know that everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us belongs to Him, so I would be more and more and more humble toward Him.
Very true.
So why there are some people who are called taqi, and they are some people that they are following the way of Satan. Why? Because they are not humble toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, they say that this is because of me. Mm-hmm. We refer to the story of the Moses and Pharaoh. What was it exactly? Musa ala nabiyana wa alihi wa alayhi salam went to one of the dictators of that time, that he was called Pharaoh, And there are some ayahs in Holy Quran that explains about the words that they were talking to each other. So the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said was one of the key elements of completely destroying Pharaoh and all of his dynasty, because Pharaoh was not humble, was not a humble man. All the time he said, I am the person who has created you, or so on. So being humble is very important.
Whom can be called humble? What do we mean by humbleness?
By humbleness, we are going to, I think, all the time, if I think that I have something in my hand, okay, I am not going to go forward and to reach the second step. Because I believe that this is me, that I am putting this one in my hand. But if I know that person, okay, is going to give us everything.
So when we are in need of something, or in need of a person,
exactly,
it means that we will be humble to that person or that entity.
Exactly, it is like that, because nowadays in the world.
So if you say that Pharaoh was not humble, it means that he was in need of God. He looked at himself independently. He thought that he is the independent entity in this world, and he has everything to do.
Is
it true?
It is true.
Okay.
I agree with it, because when I need something, I am humble in front of it. Look at the world nowadays. Many people are so humble toward money. Why? Because they need it. Not the money that ordinary people need. The things that they need themselves.
So Pharaoh was not humble because he was not, in fact, in need of Allah.
Yeah. So if I do not think that I need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can I reach salvation? How can I get closer to Him? So first of all, I should bring a special need in myself. Okay, and after that, I would be humble toward it, and then I can step into the. So if a student goes to the university and think that the teacher does not have enough knowledge to give him, can I, think that I need his knowledge? Of course not. But you suppose another student who goes to the university and sees a very, very professional, and knowledgeable professor. So all the time he is going to be present in his class and all the time takes notes. Why? Because he thinks himself in a big need for the information that the professor is going to. So all the time this student is also humble, because he needs the education, the knowledge of the professor himself. So this is the situation a little more stronger in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people who want to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reach salvation, to find their ways toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without being humble, can they? So how can I be humble? So one of the practical, points and ways, it is if I feel that I need. So without this feeling, without feeling that I need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without this need, I cannot reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So
you mean the practical way is that to see this sort of feeling inside ourselves? Exactly.
This is the key concept, I think many people, they want it, but because they cannot feel, this need inside themselves, they cannot reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me explain some words of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
Yes,
I said that when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam prays, and say some words toward Allah, he said, what can I bring when I want to come to you? Because sometimes when we are going to meet someone very important, sometimes we are going to bring something to him. So according to our Muslim, belief, we believe that the only things that we have in our hand at the resurrection day is our actions, our practices, is our ibadah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, what can I bring when I want to come to you? Can I come with my ears, eyes, and my tongue, my hands, and my feet? These are the things that you gave me. I
Very
haven't.
beautiful.
So, by the mean of everything that you gave me, I want to bring something to you. So, this is the same as a person that I give him the money, I give my car to him, and also maybe my credit card, and also I send someone, to show him the way and say, please go and take some, for example, candies. So this person says, I bring the candy for you with your own money. I went there with your own car. And also the person who was, guiding me, as a guide, was also your friend, for example. You sent someone as a guide to me. So everything was belonging to you. So this is the same that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says.
Whatever I did was on your own, Mr. Wall.
Yes. So we have nothing. So these are something that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam practically is going to show us that we have to be humble toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have nothing really. Why there are some people who are not humble? Why?
Yeah.
Because they think that they are sufficient from having a God or so on. So here Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam wanted to mention that we have really nothing. We are in a great need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this need is going to make us humble and let us to go and step toward the way to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And any criteria to understand whether this need has been created inside ourselves or not?
Yes. I said that, as a result, need brings humbleness and humility.
Yeah.
So being humble, is a sign of filling that need. So if you see that some people say, yes, we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are in a need, great need, but they are not humble toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means that their need hasn't reached, its top level.
Yeah. It's just at the very superficial level that can be just presented by tongues.
By time.
How can we take, out of the conduct of the awliya and the infallibles, this, let's say, concept of humility, to take some lessons? Because we are already, and let's say we are always recommended to study the lives of the infallibles and the awliya and those who were close to them, scholars. How can we take some, let's say, teachings out of their conducts on the concept of humility? Is there any point to have?
Yes. I explained before, one part of the Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam praise in Arafah that
by your ears, by your eyes, and coming towards you.
Of course, yeah. And of course, I'm going, inshallah, to explain some other more. But, one of the most important, factors, as I explained before, are two things. First of all, to study. Because, when we are going to build a building here, to make a big building here, we need a sample,
Yeah.
All the time we look around the samples and find out a good sample, and then we are going to make another one here. Or at least we are going to look around different samples and among them choose one of the best one. So studying about the infallible imams, about awliya and good peoples, good followers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important.
Yeah.
And also to think about the things that we have, and the things that we have to do and the things that we have not to do, are very important. So if there is time, I'm going to say the last words of Imam
1 minute,
al-Hussein
if you
alayhi
just to
salam.
bless this show.
Yeah. And in another place, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, "Oh my Lord, I am poor in my richness." Because if I feel richness, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says that in that richness I am so poor. I am so poor.
That's true.
And so how can I not be poor in my poverty? These are very beautiful words from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam that he explains, this need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Well, thank you, Sheikh Dawoodi, for your enlightening answers to the questions which were posed in this show, and you, respected viewers, for watching us up to this point within these 10 sessions and 10 shows on the spirituality in Quran. I think this would be the last show of this series, and that's why we leave you to Allah's protection. And once again, thank you for joining us with this series of shows. We hope to be able to be at your service with some other shows on the teachings of Quran and the divine book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Till next program and next show, have a very good time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.